A warship sinks in the Indian Ocean. It sounds like one of those headlines that just feels so distant, right? Something happening way over there to other people. But what if that one incident, that one sinking, is actually the key to unlocking this huge, tangled story? A story about global conflict, about very personal tragedy, and even about a country's long, long struggle with its own past. Okay, let's get into it. So there it is, right from the U.S. Defense Secretary. This is the moment everything snapped into focus. It wasn't just a rumor, or some kind of diplomatic spat. This was a confirmed military strike. And that single, blunt admission, it just completely changes the game. The conflict just got a whole lot more direct and a whole lot more deadly. All right, so what actually went down in the dark, early hours of that Wednesday morning? Let's break down the official story of this really sudden and, as you're about to see, totally historic naval strike. First things first, and this is what really matters. The people. 83 sailors died. 83. And only 32 were pulled from the water alive. I mean, before we get into any of the politics or strategy, those numbers, that's the immediate, heartbreaking reality of what happened. And then there's the language they used. Quiet death. Think about that phrase for a second. This wasn't just any attack. This was the first time since World War II that a U.S. torpedo has sunk an enemy ship. So when you hear a term like quiet death, you know it's not just a description. It's a signal of a very deliberate and very serious escalation. So where did this happen? Well, it was out in international waters, about 40 nautical miles off the coast of Sri Lanka. But because it was so close, they were the ones who got the call. A little after 5 in the morning, their authorities pick up a distress signal. And because of international maritime law, they had to be the first responders. They kicked off this huge search and rescue mission right away. But this whole thing is more than just military strategy and big geopolitical chess moves. There's a real human story here. And that's what we're going to get into now. This really powerful and honestly pretty unsettling contrast between who these sailors were just days before and what happened to them. Get this, just 2 weeks before their ship went down, this crew was in India on a goodwill mission. I mean, they weren't on some high-alert patrol. They were taking part in parades, they were out seeing the sights, taking selfies with local people, shopping for souvenirs to take home to their families, just normal stuff. And this quote, man, it just perfectly captures the shock people felt on the ground. A local resident who actually met them, he said they were friendly and cheerful. Imagine that. The same guys he was taking pictures with just days ago were suddenly gone, victims of this attack. It's just such a jarring disconnect, isn't it? And if that's not wild enough, listen to this detail from a former Indian naval officer. During those same naval exercises, officers from both the U.S. Navy and the Iranian Navy were staying in the same hotels, in the same city. You've got future adversaries literally under the same roof, just a handful of days before one of them would sink the other out at sea. It's just incredible. Yeah, an attack like this, it doesn't just happen in a vacuum, right? The ripples from this one event spread out fast, and those shockwaves are felt thousands of miles away, messing with economies and ratcheting up tensions all over the world. I mean, look at this. This is the immediate economic hit. The price of fuel for ships, it almost doubled in less than a week. And that cost? It doesn't just stay with the shipping companies. Oh no, it ripples all the way through the global supply chain. And guess who ends up paying for it? We do. Consumers everywhere. And here's a perfect example of how this stuff trickles down to affect everyday life. India sells a ton of basmati rice, right? About 3/4 of it goes to West Asia. Well, guess what? Those shipments are now completely on hold. Suddenly, you've got farmers, exporters, whole industries completely caught in the crossfire of a fight happening hundreds of miles away from them. Now let's pull the camera back a bit. This comment from the Palestinian ambassador really puts it in a wider context. He's basically saying that when you stop talking and start shooting, it's more than just a change in strategy. He sees it as a total breakdown of international law, a shift to what he calls jungle law. It's a pretty stark warning. So that phrase, jungle law, it really makes you wonder, why is this all blowing up right now? And to get that, we actually have to look inside Iran. Because this current conflict, it's not just about the US or Israel. It's tangled up in this long, painful, repeating cycle of struggle within the country itself. This is where it gets really fascinating, because you can draw a straight line from the past right to the present. Back in the day, the Shah had his infamous secret police, the Savak, to crush anyone who spoke out. Fast forward to today, and you have the guidance patrol, the moral police. And for so many Iranians, it's the exact same thing, just a different name for the same old oppression. And this timeline really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? You go from the Shah taking the throne way back in 41 to the huge revolution in 79 that forced him out. Then you jump to 2022 and the Women Life Freedom movement. And bam, here we are in 2026 in a direct military conflict. You can see how each one of these events is like a link in a chain, leading right to the crisis we're seeing today. It's just a constant history of turmoil. You know, the writer Ryszard Kapuscinski just nailed this idea perfectly. He wrote that when a dictatorship destroys its own thinkers, its own culture, it leaves behind this empty, sour field. And in that emptiness, history just starts to spin in a tragic, vicious circle. I mean, what a powerful way to put it. That quote really gets to the heart of the deep, deep challenges Iran is facing. So after looking at all this history, what's the big takeaway? Well, if there's one key lesson here, it seems to be this. Real, lasting change in Iran has never, ever been successfully engineered from the outside. It always starts from within. It begins when the ordinary people there decide to take control of their own political future. And all of this leaves us with a really tough final question to think about. On one hand, the sinking of the IRIS Dena was called a strategic military target, a move in a global chess game. But on the other hand, for the 83 sailors who died, for their families, for the people who just saw them as friendly tourists taking selfies, it was a profound human tragedy. So where is that line? In a global conflict, where do you draw the line between a strategic target and a human tragedy?